I've got a question for you, because actually, if we want to talk some CS, an obvious topic to talk about is this weird Dignitas move. Where the reason I say it's weird, like, it isn't in terms of, like, if you want to make the most competitive team, some of those players couldn't remain. Like, that team, listen, it's just super old. So, like, it made sense they would replace them, but the reason I'm confused is, unless they've got some, like, secret blockbuster move, like Olof Meister's coming back or something crazy, dude, there's not even anyone that anyone hypes in the Swedish scene. Like, who is there that isn't in Fnatic and Nip? Like, are there even players? Like, are there even, like, FPL stars who are Swedish? Are there people who are even on the horizon for this?
Sadly not. I think the Swedish scene have stagnated a lot. Maybe it's due to Fnatic and NIP as well, because we don't bring in enough players. We just use the same old, I guess.
Yeah,
but
true.
I don't know. I think the only player I know is Kreas, that we had as a stand-in for EPL once in the group stage when Crims was sick. But other than that, I think we don't produce enough, sadly. So
especially not for the kind of history that Sweden has.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, this Dignitas move, I was extremely shocked, to be honest, because I felt like when they built this team and they got f0rest, I felt like f0rest had like demand, like he's gonna have these guys.
Yeah, he wanted the whole point of leaving Nip was to remake the team, right?
Yes, I'm pretty sure I've heard like through the years that Getright and f0rest are gonna stick together, and it was kind of a demand from f0rest. So I have no idea what happened or what is gonna happen, but it shocked me a lot.
Oh, by the way, I can corroborate that even from back in the day, because when they came over from Fnatic to SK Gaming back in 1.6, dude, f0rest is that, people don't know this. Behind the scenes, he actually is what he appears, like a very humble guy. Like, he will just totally, like, for example, by the way, even though I never bring it up, it's mad awkward when he does this. If I ever talk to him, right, he always just has to go out of his way to bring up, like, look, I don't even say I'm the GOAT. Maybe Neo was the GOAT at 1.6. I'm like, look, you can think you're the GOAT, mate. That's fine. I don't have to. Like, I'm not actually my own camera personality, mate. I'm just having a beer now. Like, you can think you were the best. You were pretty fucking good. So one of the things he did always say, because he also knows is one of my opinions, is I always thought he was very shrewd in his career, because when he was the best Swedish player was when the teams were based around him. But then when he got Getright, and Getright basically got as good or maybe even better in 1.6, because there was years where f0rest just wasn't motivated, he understood, like, mate, if that's the guy who's practicing all the time and he's the best now, you just stay with that guy. Like, it makes the most logical sense. Like, that's how you're going to win the most championships. Like, you find another guy who's a winner, he's also like one of the best players, just stick together, don't break up. Like, that's an insane gamble. So I could believe that they probably understood, like, we should try and stay together as long as we can. Like, let's play our whole careers together, see how it goes.
Yeah. And I think, touching on f0rest there, I think a pretty nice quote from Olof back in the days was if I recall correct, he said sometime like he don't think he's the best player, but he don't think anyone else is better.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that kind of sums the Swedish personality a bit.
No, that's the joke, isn't it? Because I've even said this. Like, I won't go into a whole thing, 'cause it's like a separate issue. But like, when people think about like Sweden, right? They think, because of some of the political stuff, that Swedes are all like hating themselves and like, no, mate, they might say that publicly, but one of the reasons why Swedes are some of the best champions ever in Counter-Strike is they're arrogant as fuck. Like that's the perfect way to say it, because like the law of Janty things means you can't be like, well, I'm just the best. So what you do is you go, no, I'm not the best, but no one's better than me. Like, that is like just that's their way of being the ego guy. Like, it's actually quite a cool angle, you know, because it sounds like you're being humble while secretly being like, but no one can fuck with me ever. I'm the best. Like,
yeah, but that is Sweden in a nutshell.
Sure.
Dignitas. I don't know. This movie, it surprised me, I guess, but I don't know. It surprised me just because I think I didn't really see it coming at the time, but it doesn't surprise me in the sense that I think it's probably got to be the right move. Like you said, if that's going to be, those guys certainly probably wanted to play together again, and f0rest probably wanted to get the band back together, and everyone probably wanted to get the band back together, and you always have faith in the guys that you're closest to, probably long past its due. But, you know, these changes, and the reason they don't necessarily surprise me is I have to imagine at some point after these results, like you just lose confidence that it's going to improve, that the guys next to you still have the ability to mentally stay checked in and focused, not just on like winning in that moment of that match, but also practicing and improving outside of the matches. And I think that's where most faith probably had to have been lost. Is like, I know once we get into the match, you're going to be fully focused at 100%, and you're going to be working your ass off with what we can do to win this match. But are you going to be fully focused at 100%, every day of practice, so that you can actually improve upon your weaknesses? And that's where I imagine somebody lost faith, and that's why these changes occurred. Is they were just like, you know what, Get Right and Exist. These are the players they're going to be, and they're not going to change their habits. They're not going to be able to improve to get us to a different level. And now's just the time to make a change, even if we don't have anyone necessarily lined up. Like, bringing anyone in who's going to work to improve is probably better than what they had going on.
Well, you have a very similar scenario with this, JW, because obviously, like, you've had your call with Crimson Flasher, who've played all these years, and obviously there was that period. It's all right, mate, we don't have to get into a Twitter fight over it. We'll just say Flusher left. That's all that matters is he wasn't in the team anymore, then he was again, and we'll just leave it at that. So somehow he left. Now, in that scenario, someone obviously decided, let's not keep that core together again. Maybe the core's run its time. Like, I mean, you'd had a lot of years of success. You'd had a few years that weren't as good. Like, here's the funny thing. I'm going to sound like I'm defending the Dig players here. And even though I thought putting the whole 4 players together was kind of ridiculous, I get why in their minds they thought they could do it. Because when Moses says there, like, sometimes you as the player have faith beyond everyone else. Because I always describe it like this. Imagine you really went to a real war with a bunch of soldiers and they like watched your back and then you overcame impossible odds and you won a battle that you weren't supposed. If you do that, you really do believe like anything's possible because you've done it. Like, you've seen like the scenarios where normally like it's like a movie ending, like it just all happens. Like some of the tournaments you guys won, I'm sure when you got back together, is like no one thought this was possible. So like you must be able to relate to that, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's like you say. For example, Olaf, Flasha, Krims, Pronax, all of those guys have like a special place in my heart because we've been through so much together, right? So of course you can lay at night sometime and think like, why the hell wouldn't we be as good as we were back then today? Like, of course we would, right?
Sure.
It's very easy to think like that. But I still feel like what bothers me a bit is this COVID thing. Like it's all online. I don't really like teams changing players. I mean, I get it, the results are not there, but it's online as well. Like, I'm not a big fan of changing a player now when it is online. Like, at least wait until there is a LAN or two and see how it is, because it's a totally different environment. And I think some teams might be wasting what they actually have had or have built by changing too quick now that it is online.